Hey, everybody. Hello, everybody. How are y'all doing? What's going on up in here? Now, y'all, before we start, please drop a 1 in the comment section so I know that you can hear me and I'm not just talking to myself, which I do. And I even sometimes answer myself at this point in life. And I'm okay with that, especially after reading Jody Hildenbrandt's book. I'm all healed. You know what I'm saying? I'm just joking for sure. Okay, thank you, everybody. First of all, hello, Emily, my darling, my love. I hope you are doing well. Um, and hello, everybody else out there. Now, y'all, let me go over to this thing real quick. So, first things first, let me get to the right screen. Right. Oh my gosh. I'm talking scared the you know what out of me. So I've been seeing so I kind of been checking in, getting everything set up, and I'm like, what is this about August? And I looked and I was like, well, it says for something like where I planned out. I'm like, I don't know what they're talking about up in there. And then I looked at the thumbnail, just plain as damn day. It says August. And I'm sitting here like this. I'm like, might as well just leave it. It's too late now. Oh Lord. Y'all should, if you saw, that's how my entire days are filled with stuff like that right there. That's why I'm like, you can't trust Paul's reality. You know what I'm saying? It could be anything at any given moment. Anything can happen at any moment around here, right? And Roscoe says hello. Now, first things first, let me go turn this light down because that's going to drive me crazy. Oh my gosh. Hold on. Let me go do this real quick. It's just right here. Okay, so let's try that and see how that goes. And see if that's better because my word. So, first of all, if you are new here, this is my podcast channel. We call it the podcast channel, but we just go live over here is what we do. We talk about current cases, documentaries, whatever. So that's what we do here. So if you're coming from the main channel, make sure to subscribe here. If you don't know the main channel, that's where I do my edited videos, that type of thing. So if you don't like the live chat vibe, because I do stop, I talk, it's kind of like a hangout session in all honesty. And I get that some people don't like that vibe, then I get it. Look, I understand. Okay. Hey Veronica, it's good seeing you. So that's that. So there's that. Just make sure you're subbed to both channels if you want to be. Pardon me. And then there's that. So tonight we're talking about, well, let me say this real quick. We're gonna get caught up in the Chad Daybell stuff. I started going over that today. Some of the stuff that I want to look at, like those cringy text messages and some of the testimony that's been coming up. And we might do a live chat tomorrow night on Chad Daybell, but I'll figure that out tomorrow and see how it goes. I've had a lot of stuff going over here with home renovation stuff, not fun home renovation stuff. You know what I'm saying? So it's been drama. And so then, so Jennifer Pan, what Jennifer did. Okay. Netflix recently released, and we're going to watch some stuff on it before we kind of go over the thing. They did a documentary on it. Here's the thing. Hey, Martha, how's it going? Thank you. If you have watched this, then, and when I say watch this, if you've seen it or anything about Jennifer Pan, this is an older case. I did like an hour-long video on it. I don't know how long ago. Hey, Dwayne, how's it going? Most every true crime person has done a massive video on this at some point or other, so this is nothing new. So watching this, there's two versions of it. Number one, you don't know the case at all. This is brand new. You like watching true crime documentaries on things like Netflix, Hulu, whatever. You know what I'm saying? And then Wampu, we're going to talk about that because I just saw an article when I was looking. I was like, what's going on with this? So, yeah, there's drama coming out about the AI things that they use, but we'll look into that too. This literally is an overview of this case. Like it scratches the surface. So if this was something that you were like, about, there's a book written on it. And I think the book is what I based my like big deep dive into. And then like articles, obviously, and stuff like that. But so it's that. If you've seen it before or you watch things, it's not going to be anything new to you. Maybe some of the interviews that they do with people, like the looking back then type thing. Pardon me. But not in the context of like, again, if you're familiar with it, there's that. So yeah, I'll just say that. And we'll talk about the overview of it and stuff like that. But what I want to start off by doing is, first of all, sipping it from the cup is watching a quick clip about it. And we're going to go over to another screen. I'm going to share it. And they're talking to, I think, one of the journalists or something like that worked on it. So please hold. We'll go over to that and then we'll keep coming. Hey, Derek, how's it going? Everybody, welcome Derek to the damn sofa. Okay, where is my present? Boom, 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 boom. Okay, so we are going to go over to, well, first of all, let's start off with the obvious. Let's go to the Netflix thing on it, right? Did I just share my own screen? I just shared my own screen. Oh my God, that's crazy. I'm telling you, you can't trust nothing up in here. Not when I'm running it. Not when I'm running it. Hold on now. Where did it go? Netflix. Okay, here it is. I mean, my gosh. Thanks, Martha. Okay, let me make sure you're watching something. Okay, so this is what it is. This is the Netflix landing page for it. And you see here, obviously it's kind of showing two sides to Jennifer. And then we have what did Jennifer do? Or I'm sorry, what Jennifer did. When Jennifer Pan calls 911 to report that her parents have been shot, she becomes the primary focus of a captivating criminal case. And that's just, the basic gist of it. So now what we're going to do is we are going to go over to here and bum 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 bum. So let me get rid of that, and then let's go over to here to listen to this little interview. This might be from TikTok, and just absolute side note here, because we have to do the side note here. If you are on TikTok, and when I say this, drop a number 2 in the comment section. Do you know what veneer tech TikTok is? Okay, now let's go watch this. We'll come back to that. This is completely irrelevant to the case that we're talking about. It's the rabbit hole that I went on at 5 in the morning now. Derek knows I sent him 300 videos. Okay, let me find this over here. Okay, if you know, you know. Yo, I just discovered veneer tech TikTok this morning. And when I say I'm talking rabbit hole, I was like, what? Oh my gosh. Y'all, if you're on TikTok, just Google veneer tech, okay? And you will see tons of horror stories, okay? Anyways, so that's that. It's completely separate. Okay, so let's go over to share or present. We're going to share a screen. We're going to share a screen. We're going to go over to our reporter. Boom, boom. We're going to share. We're going to go over here, our reporter. We're going to go bam. Okay, so our reporter uncovering. So let's just listen to this real quick.
Release a documentary about you might be hearing the name Jennifer Pan a lot right now. Netflix just released a documentary about her plot to kill her parents.
I knew what they were going to do. I wouldn't have done it.
The case happened back in 2010 in Ontario, and it got a lot of attention. I was one of the reporters who covered the trial. Pan told the court she began to build a web of lies. The jury begins a 3-week break starting tomorrow. One of the producers for the Netflix documentary asked whether I would participate, but I declined. But I can tell you a bit about the case and my impressions. When Jennifer was 24, she hired hitmen to kill her parents in a staged home invasion. Her mother was killed and her father was shot in the head. It was a really unusual story. It's very rare that you get a young woman charged with killing one parent and trying to kill another. Initially, the whole story was that we thought that she was a victim. The police thought she was a victim, but soon after that, they charged her with first-degree murder and her boyfriend at the time, plus 3 other guys. When you saw her in court, you couldn't believe how young she looked. I mean, she was very young. She was in her 20s. She was extremely soft-spoken. As I recall, it was sometimes hard to hear her, so she seemed so meek. It was such a dichotomy to the picture that the Crown was painting of her. She lied about going to university. She lied about getting into pharmacology at U of T. She lied about working at Sick Kids Hospital. I think the jury would find it difficult to believe that she wouldn't lie about not being part of this plot to kill her parents. My impression was that she felt she was trapped, because if she had then admitted to her parents, admitted she had lied about the pharmacology, that she had lied about continuing to date Daniel Wong when her parents had forbade it, it would bring shame to her family. In Asian families, that's a real thing. I had some sympathy for the dilemma that she was in, although I would say that that was one that she herself had put herself in. The other thing that really struck with me was her dad, who, when he was testifying, had to have a translator. He had a Vietnamese translator with him. To see a father and a daughter at such odds was really striking. And Jennifer's story isn't over. She's maintained her innocence. Last spring, the Ontario Court of Appeal granted Jennifer and her 3 co-accused a new trial. We don't know when Jennifer's going to be back in court. This new trial and the Netflix documentary has certainly renewed interest in this case.
Okay, so, Jennifer, yikes. So that's a good little gist over it. Now, like she said at the end there, again, this is what's kind of like kicking this all back up and whatnot, is because all these appeals that went through, and I'm just like, are you kidding? Oh my God. So there's that. So if you watch my videos on this, then you will know that what I typically do is I go off camera to get my lens cleaner. I'm gonna have to do my lensing here because I think it's foggy or something. But what I'm gonna do is, so I watched it, I made notes. Now here's what the it's not the weird thing, but the different thing about this documentary is because like I know so much about the case, it's hard to like watch it as if I've never seen it. But that's kind of what I did. Like I do these other docs where I just like make notes as I go and use it as a talking point. So, but this one, it's like I already know a bunch of stuff about it. You know what I mean? Because I did that big video on it and it's been around for a minute. So just keep that in mind that this one's a little bit different in that way. Please hold. It's gonna get foggy for a minute, y'all, but just bear with me. We're just cleaning the lens. Oh, yes. Oh, yes. Oh, much better. I was in distortion. We're in truth now. We were in distortion. We're in truth now. Okay. Okay. And yeah, I've seen a couple of people say the Chandler Alderson. It was his last name, Alderson Chandler, the guy who killed his parents. Y'all, same vibes here, right? Same vibes here. You know, one thing that was interesting before we get into the notes about it, that was very interesting about this case when you go into like comment sections and Reddit, stuff like that, it, excuse me, is a lot of people who maybe had parents like hers. Now, you don't see people saying, yeah, she should kill them, you know, but a lot of people who maybe grew up with this or had parents that were very, Halderson, thank you, they were very, you know, overbearing, whatever. Just like you heard the interviewer say, like, I could sympathize on some levels with her, but, you know, come on now. Because, you know, the whole thing of you can't date this man, or you have to, it's everything has to be, oh, thanks, Amanda, just gifted 5 people stuff, memberships. But obviously having your parents, yeah, tiger parents. So that's kind of like the term of, you know, just this very overbearing success, that kind of thing. But obviously the answer is not to do this complex plot to have your parents killed. I mean, God, it gives me goosebumps, y'all, with her father. We'll get to it. Okay, so here we go. Because I'm just gonna start talking about it, right? Okay, where are we at? We are at bum ba dum bum 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 bum. I'm going to my documents. Cha 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 cha. What Jennifer did. I've continually called it "What did Jennifer do?" Literally, I just need to go with the names that I make up, because I did a video on it, and we're going to read, like, you know, the edited version of this right here. And also, just so you know, I'll do an edited version, but it'll just be the notes and stuff like that, kind of a thing. But again, it came out so bad. Then I was like, Paul, the whole time you called it "What did Jennifer do?" instead of "What Jennifer did." So there's that. Oh, thank you, Emily. Gifted memberships. Okay, so what Jennifer did. And I'm just going to kind of read my notes. So the first thing I put here is just getting everybody about what the case is. So I'm just going to read this little thing here. So November 2010, Jennifer Pan, she sets in motion a chain of events at her family home in Canada that takes her mother's life, almost takes her father's life, destroys her family, sends her and these co-defendants to prison for essentially the rest of their lives, right? Jennifer was convicted of orchestrating a murder for hire plot against her parents during a staged home invasion. So her parents, Mr. and Miss Pan, Daniel Wong is going to be a name that comes up a lot in this. This was the man, the boyfriend. Obviously, Jennifer is in there too. So the family. Here's the kind of well, not the kind of, here is the heartbreaking part of it. So the Pan family, they came from Vietnam years ago. These people, Mr. and Miss Pan, they were very hardworking. They, did what you're supposed to do. You know what I'm saying? Paid for the house, went to work, did this. Now they have a son too, right? Thank you, Stephanie. Um, so Jennifer has a brother. Thank God he wasn't home, right? I believe he was off at school or something, but he was not there. So he has survived. He's remained very much in the, the the not the limelight is what I'm trying to say. He testified at the trial. Um, but he has not been out there like that. Very private people, right? So, like I said, they were very, very, very hardworking. All this. Did they have high expectations of Jennifer, their son? Yes, by all means. Okay. Some of this was not out of the norm for a parent, though, right? Because when you get to the conversation about Daniel Wong, right, wrong, or indifferent, this dude had a lot of stuff going on. Okay. So he was selling drugs. He worked at a pizza shop. Now, I'm not shaming him for just working at a pizza shop, but they didn't, all this combined, they were just like, he works at a pizza shop. He doesn't have money. We want you to be more, like, what do you call it? Like, go after more than that. You know what I'm saying? Um, he wasn't for them. The parents is what I'm talking about. No, God knows, like with the drug stuff and all that, you already know that's not going to fly. So, this is not the kind of guy they want their daughter bringing home, and they have very high hopes for her. Okay. So, while some of it I get, and it's like, yeah, it sucks to be in an overbearing situation. Yeah, it sucks to be in love with somebody and your parents don't want you with them. I mean, 100%, right? But again, she had options, and one of those options could like not be killing your parents, right? That's just where I come, to with this case. But anyways, we'll talk about that along the way. So very, good people, all this. The neighbors, will hear from neighbors and stuff like that. I mean, this is devastating to people, right? And frightening for the neighborhood. So, pardon me. Now, the documentary starts off with showing us the interviews that Jennifer did, as well as the 911 phone calls. Okay, now I've already seen some people talk about this. Here's the thing that I also come back to with the 911 phone calls. Y'all, I'm talking, go ahead and give that girl a damn Emmy or whatever you give people for acting, whatever it is, a Golden Globe, I don't know. But look, she was working that phone, okay? And we'll get more into her story, but she's on the phone talking about, oh my God, there's an invasion. You can hear, and this part gets me every time, you can hear her father screaming. You can hear Jennifer. She is putting on a good show, okay? A damn good show. Pardon me. So then the interviews at the police station, here's the thing, in situations like this where it's murky and it's the very beginning, of course they're just trying to get answers, right? All they know is Miss Pan is dead. The father's been shot. I think it was like the eye, like the face or something. I mean, he's severely injured. He's very lucky to be alive. Okay. And here this little tiny girl, a young lady, but I mean, she's just very meek, very soft spoken, talking about, I was tied up, I was held at gunpoint. So they're being very fragile with her, right? Which is what would be expected. You know what I'm saying? But knowing what we know after the fact, and then looking at these interviews, y'all, it gives me goosebumps right now. I'm like, that is a stone cold killer right there. Okay, like just nothing, right? Nothing. And when we get into the conversations about the level of lying that she did, which to me they skirt over this a little bit because in the book and whatnot, thank you, Happy Machines, just gifted a membership. um it was next level what she had going on, y'all. Just same as Chandler. Okay. So um pardon me. So here's the thing. Let me keep reading the notes. Let me keep reading the notes here. Let me do that. I get ahead of myself when I know the case like this, and I just want to start going. I just want to start talking smack. Okay, please hold. Where are we? Okay, where are we? You can hear the. Okay, so yeah, you can hear the father yelling in the background, help for background, and you can hear Jennifer yelling to the father that she's calling 911. So remember this. Keep this in mind if you haven't seen this or whatever. But of course, we find out later that the father, that the father saw something this evening when all this was going down that he would say when he was better, came out of a coma. Something had gone on with Jennifer that he saw that she was probably involved. Things didn't add up. Okay, then we're shown a scene in Ontario on the street. This is like basically it seems, and I don't know. This is what we'll get into in a minute because we're going to look at an article about them using AI generated stuff. I don't know if this was like real footage or not, but it's the scene of the neighborhood, right? And it's like 10:30, and lots of cop cars. I mean, just what you imagine when something like this happens, right? When a almost double murder happens. Um, There's been a double shooting, that he's going to be the primary guy in the case. So we hear from, so I'm just kind of quickly reading my notes here. So we're starting to hear from investigators, people like that in the documentary and whatnot. He's describing what was going on. Now at the scene, Jen's mother, Big Pan was her name, Mr. and Miss Pan. She's deceased. Father is injured, bad gunshot wound. He has to be put into a coma. No one can figure out why somebody would do a crime like this to this family, right? Jennifer Pan is the only witness unless the father pulls through. Okay. And here, pardon me. And here's the thing. Again, you got to remember, like, this is like a neighborhood. This is, and I mean, again, this is kind of this is Canada, number one. Looking at the neighborhood, I'm like, this is like a nice neighborhood. It's not like fancy, but it's nice, right? Not the kind of place that somebody randomly does something like this out of the blue, where it's just like somebody just randomly broke into this nice little couple. The neighbors are like, they're quiet, they keep to themselves, they're very friendly, this type thing. So for somebody to just break in and kill them, and they have this daughter, this is completely scary to everybody. Okay. They are absolutely frightening. Okay. Frightened. So they're just really going over this and, putting this into, context for us. Okay. So, okay, we're then shown another interview with Jennifer. Now, after the incident, they ask her to describe what happens, and she begins to describe. The scene begins with the mother preparing dinner. So remember, this is Jennifer's perspective at first, okay? The scene begins with her mother preparing dinner before her mother went out to go line dancing. Miss Pam would go out line dancing. This is something she did every week. So Jennifer has dinner with her. Then she goes upstairs. She's in her room. She says she calls it a night. She's on the phone talking to a friend, that type thing. Mother comes home sometime around 9:30. Jennifer goes down there and kind of like a good night. She goes, make sure the door is locked. Wink, wink. And then she goes back upstairs where she hears her mom calling for her father, and like she's kind of describing it. Oh wow, Esmeralda, thank you so much. I appreciate that. He said, you make rough days good days and great days. Oh, that's so sweet. Thank you, Esmeralda. That's amazing. I appreciate that. I'm glad I can bring a smile. So she hears something going on, right? So she's like, what's up? Well, this is when, again, through the level of the lens of hold on, let me like your thing. Thank you again, Esmeralda. That's so sweet. This is through the lens of Jennifer's first story. You know what I'm saying? So she goes down there. So she's basically like, she's greeted by a guy. So she gets tied up. And hold on, wait. Jennifer hears her mom calling for her dad to come down, come down. Jennifer goes out. She's greeted by a guy. He ties her hands behind her back, says he has a gun. If she does what she says, nobody will get hurt. He's like, where's the money? Where's the money? Where's the money? Now, this is where the story is like a little bit back and forth because at one point, allegedly, Jennifer will talk about, I was tied to the banister, and then he'll like untie her, bring her down or whatever. So, and there's also a 911 phone call mixed in here, which will be one of her downfalls, but we'll get to that. Okay. So she goes downstairs. She sees her mom. The burglars want their mother's money, and the mom keeps trying to get up, and Jennifer's like screaming, like telling her, Mom, don't get up, don't get up. Now, her mother apparently has like broken English, so there's like maybe a communication issue. But again, this is Jennifer's story. Okay. And let's pause there for 1 second to just kind of say this. When Jennifer is talking about this to the cops and weeping and crying, this is the part where I'm like, damn, she's good. She, in my opinion, y'all tell me different. She's saying it like, I feel like I would recount this if I saw this, like, with that level of upsetness, you know what I'm saying? Of like, "Oh my god," whatever, whatever. Uh, excuse me. So and hold on, PTSD says, "Look fake to me." And you know what? It totally could be, because here's the other thing too, and I think I put this down here further, but I wasn't there to see if there's real tears, that kind of stuff. You know what I'm saying? So like, but the act that she's like, going through for me, I was like, okay, yeah, I get it. However, I wasn't there to see the nuances of tears and things like that, which could be, you know what I mean? It's different when you're there in person or whatever. Okay, so they're going back and forth with mom. She's trying to get up. They're pushing her down, whatever. Jennifer is crying, like I said. Jennifer says at this point they have taken her that they've tied her to a banister, but she's still able to move, but she was afraid to because of the guy that had a gun. Jen said she hears her parents going down the stairs, and her mom is asking them to let Jennifer go, but but they won't. They won't let her. Jennifer says the last thing she remembers hearing or something, or them saying to her, I can't remember this part, is or no, she heard was them saying, you lied to us. Then she said she hears two pops. Her mother screams. She yells out for her mother, and then there's a couple of more pops. So there's I don't know, yeah. So that's, again, according to Jennifer. We're going to get to a second here when it says, otherwise or whatever. Okay. Now let's get into this. Jen will then describe, so then she describes the assailants, who it was, and she'll basically describe essentially three guys, but two black guys, one with dreadlocks, one that has a thinner build than the first one has a Jamaican accent. She will not be able to say how they got into the house, which is red flag number one. Then she doesn't recollect hearing anything about how they she has no idea. She didn't hear anything, no nothing, right? Now, video evidence will show later how they got in the house, and it's, again, mega red flag. The police will ask Jen, how much money do your parents keep in the house, in the bank, this kind of thing. And these type things, and her parents tend to live a modest lifestyle. They drive like a Lexus or Mercedes. Again, they live in this nice house, right? But it's not like super fancy. It's not like the most crazy Lexus, the most crazy Mercedes. Oh, thanks, Dwayne. He just gifted 5 memberships to people. So keep that in mind. Okay. So, and Jen's kind of describing it like, they don't keep tons of money here or there. She's describing like, what you would consider normal. I hate to use that. But, she's not like, oh, mom and dad have $100,000, up in the attic or something. You know what I mean? But here's the thing. The cops are like looking around, and they're like, okay, so this is like a crazy home invasion, but there's like these expensive cameras, and there's money over here, and things that if somebody randomly broke into this house in the evening time, random home, broke into it, it's like, why didn't you take this? Again, red flag. So you see all this stuff starts to be like, what's going on here? And it squeezed me. So then the narrative switches in the documentary to another field investigator is interviewed. And he says this struck him as like a really bad case. He thinks of his own family, and he begins talking about how they canvass the neighborhood, and they talk to neighbors and whatnot, and basically anybody that would give them clues. The standard stuff that they do, right? So then they interview a family friend, and his name's Hong. He's interviewed. No, I'm sorry, it's a female. She says she can't understand why Bick was killed. It really bothered her a lot. She would go over there to their house. She'd have dinner with them. She said that they were a very generous people. She said they were hardworking. They weren't involved in anything nefarious. Nothing. Now, other neighbors and people who knew them said that they were nice. They were quiet. They kept to themselves. And again, like the randomness of this scared the what out of everybody, right? So let's continue. The narrative switches back to one of the detectives, and he says about 6 hours into the canvas, they learn of an associate of Jen's that was like coming to visit in the house, kind of a thing. His name is Daniel Wong. Keep this in mind. Okay, Daniel Wong is a drug dealer. He has been dating Jennifer Pan, but we'll get more to that story. Now, this, of course, is going to be very interesting to the cop, right? Because they're like, why wouldn't she tell us this, right? Your parents are murdered, or your mother is, and your dad's hanging on for life. And it's like, why would somebody be, breaking into your house? I wonder if I should tell them about my drug dealer, air quotes, boyfriend. Okay, because it's not the case at this point in time. But probably in Jen's world it was, okay? I need to grab my please hold. I got to please hold. I got to get my beverage. It's over here. Okay, look, y'all, I'm sorry. I went ahead and got 2 beverages, okay? Again, tastes just like the real thing, y'all. And then, of course, Coke Zero. We already drank all the stuff in the cupboard. Okay, so here we go. Let me get back to my notes. Please hold. Oh. Okay. Oh, Lord. Okay, there we go. Okay. Where's that? Okay, so Daniel Wong, right? So the cops, of course, are like, who, what? Like we need to we need the T girl. Like bring these people in. So next we're shown an interview with Daniel Wong at the police station, and he says the night of the incident, he's like, I was at home sleeping. He tells the cops about his past. He's very open about this, for the most part. Um, then where things get creepy for the cops is when they start asking about him and Jen. And they're like, so tell us about Jen. Hold on. Roscoe, look. Hey, Roscoe. He can't see. He has no peripheral vision anymore. Roscoe. Look, over here. Come here. And I had to do all that to get him to see me out of the side of his eye. He's staring off into the other thing, looking for me, and I'm like, he doesn't realize I'm over here. Bless his little heart. Okay, so they start talking to him about Jen and that kind of thing, right? And he's like, okay, yeah. So you know what? We were definitely, a thing. We had a relationship. I'm basically her ex-boyfriend, and he says that they were planning on staying together, but there was like this major issue. Um, and with her parents, they were very strict and basically drove her down a path where she had to pick between him and them, right? Kind of a thing. They didn't approve of him. He worked at a pizza shop. He didn't make much money. Now, of course, there's also the whole thing of he sold weed and stuff like that. But it's just they weren't wanting this, right? So he will tell if he that he's still talking to him. So he will tell them the story that he still talks to Jen. She'll call him. He'll call to check on her, see how she's doing, that kind of thing. Kind of back and forth, whatever. It's essentially kind of made out like it just sounded like an odd relationship, right? Almost like to me, I got a vibe where it was, I don't want to say if it was like a back burner thing, but there was almost like he felt sorry for her is the vibe that I got. It was odd, but we're getting ready to find out another reason why there was this like continued connection or whatever. So he's like, well, yeah, I would call and check on her because we kept getting these like really harassing phone calls and text messages, and it was crazy, right? And they're like, well, what is this? And so, this is interesting. What's going on here? And so he's like, yes, sometimes these calls like 100 a day. People would hang up, they do this, blah, 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 blah. I get text messages talking about we're watching you now. And the weird thing is Jen was getting them too. Well, you already know. Again, it's hard because I already know about this part. You know what I'm saying? But it's like, spoiler alert, it's Jen doing it, right? So you can see the web she has created of, but at this time they don't know this, right? She's doing this and it is keeping him interested in her. So she's like completely making out like this. Oh, I'm injured, so he checks on me. Now, mind you, he's already got some new girl, right? Which makes it like super cringe, okay, for Jen. I'm like, girl, like I get it. It sucks. Your parents won't let you be with them. It's like unrequited love, whatever. But seeing the web of lies that she like created, even just with him. Thank you, Lisa. Is super cringe, right? Okay. Hold on, let me catch where am I at? Okay, so one thing to keep in mind, I'm just reading back through my notes here. One thing to keep in mind is that during the breakup, Jen wanted to try and stay together, but he said it just wasn't going to happen. He's seen somebody new. Now he tells the cops the last text that he received was bang, bang, bang. Knowing now that Jen did this, it's like, damn girl. You know what I'm saying? Like she would. I mean, y'all, I'm not joking. Like she probably would have ended up killing him. She would have done a Jodi Arias on him. I'm not lying. If she had been left to her own, she would take him out somehow, right? Okay, so when the cops press him, like, basically the cops are also coming at him in this way, like, do you think what happened at her house could have anything to do with your drug dealing? And he's essentially like, no, because like nobody's killing his money over a gram of weed, right? It was the stance that he takes. Now, basically the cops, after they talk to him, they're trying to figure out, so is Danny the target? Is Jennifer the target? They have way more questions. Here's the thing. The more they dig into this story, they're not getting answers. It's getting more confusing and more layered, and they have more questions. They can't, so how cops are always like, you start from the inside and you move out. They can't move out on this case, right? Like past Jen, because it's just like, we can't get past like trying to get all these questions answered about this crazy ish that's going on with just a daughter, you know what I'm saying? And like this boyfriend, it's like, okay, wait, you did what? You're getting phone calls, you sell drugs, you did this, like what? So this is the thing, and this is just, it's how it goes down. So we went over that. Okay. So then this basically makes him start looking into Jen even more because, like I said, they can't get away from it, right? Pardon me. Hold on, pardon me. Okay, excuse me. Background even deeper. They talked to her another. Okay, so they talked to another high school friend of hers. He's like, "Yep, she was bubbly, happy. She was totally cool." He says that Jen and Daniel did have basically a dramatic relationship, right? Always some kind of drama going on. Well, then in the meantime, and remember, I'm kind of just reading my notes just based on this documentary, like the way they tell the story. So they finally get some surveillance footage from the other houses and whatnot, and the cops are able to see these three suspects walk in the front door and then walk right back out later. Well, one leaves and a couple run out later. So you already know that they're like, what? Like, huh? Like you just casually strolling this place? Home invasion? No, honey. We're gonna have to try again. Bring Jim back in here. That's the whole thing. That they couldn't get off. She was like, she ain't going nowhere. You know what I'm saying? They're just like, girl, get your butt back in here. We got to talk. This is not making sense. Anyways, so there's no forced entry, obviously, but, we knew this. So they bring her back in and they're going to really ask her some of the hard hitting questions on this one. They're asking, they ask her about the situation with Daniel, specifically about the weird phone calls. And Jen's basically like, oh, those phone calls? Did you talk to Daniel's new lady? Because, yeah, it's her. She's threatening me. She tries to play it off on this girl that, what's his name? Daniel's in. Pardon me. So she's saying, that she was getting messages from this girl telling her to back off and all that type of stuff. And maybe she was, right? Because, I mean, can you imagine what Jennifer was? Imagine what Jennifer would be like if you started going out with a guy, or vice versa. Put yourself in whatever the situation is for you. You start going out with somebody, their ex is a Jennifer. Plays, and especially like you're having to kind of maybe interact with one another, whatever. Like Jennifer's the type that if she was in a social situation with her ex and their new person, she would find a way to like flirt with him in front of the new girlfriend, or like, oops, I dropped something, let me do my bend and snap. You know what I'm saying? Like that kind of thing. Like I can already see it, right? Just like I can just see it. So anyways, so where are we at? New girlfriend. Okay, yeah. So Jen will describe having a bit. Okay, so then Jen describes she has had to make the choice between her boyfriend Danny or being at her parents. So she decides to stay with the family. She's not going to basically, go the other way. You know what I'm saying? And be like, I'm going to leave my family for Danny. But she wants to have her cake and eat it too. So she keeps talking to him behind everybody's back. So she gets caught talking to him. They take the cell phone away. They lock her down even more. Jen's world begins, or Jen's life, number one, it's very boring. Okay. She, pardon me, it's basically school, 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 home, 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 all that kind of stuff, right? Piano lessons. And in fact, they will interview her piano coach or teacher or whatever you call it. And he's like, you know what? Jen was like exceptional. She was amazing. She was, crazy. Her parents spent thousands of dollars on competitions, all that kind of stuff. She was the best of the best, right? Which is interesting to see that she excelled in this, but in other things it was like, eh. But he's like, one day we were sitting here, we're practicing piano, and she just like basically broke down, like out of the blue. And she's like, my parents don't trust me. They follow me, they check up on me, this, that, and the other. And of course, this is odd to him because he's just like, okay, we gonna play the Star Spangled Banner now, girl? You know what I'm saying? He was like, okay, I have taken your complaint and filed it away. No, I'm kidding. He wasn't like that. He was very empathetic towards her. But, it was awkward is what I'm getting at. So, okay. So then in the police interviews, Jennifer confirms this, yes. She talks about her father, um, the pressure. Here's the thing. She's not going anywhere in life. Okay. She is making it out to her parents like she is, but that's not happening. So basically it's almost like Danny is her world. Danny is her escape, right? And they talk about the story. So one time they went to Europe, and I think this is like a field trip or something. She basically had some kind of like asthma attack or something. And Daniel was the one that kind of like checked on her, made sure she was okay, came to her side. And that to me is where and I don't want to say obsession, but like where she fell for him. He was probably like, what do you call it? Like a knight in shining armor kind of a thing, right? So this kind of goes way back. Like, and these are during your formative years. I mean, these are during high school years, right? So, I mean, these first relationships are, hey, buddy, these first relationships are hard. Hold on. Do you not want to get held? Okay. So she tells him, yeah, she still has feelings for him, right? So Jennifer tells the interviewer, Jennifer tells the interviewer in an interview that her dad. Oh, she's talking about the pressures and things like that. She's like, my dad, he knew I didn't have it to be a doctor, like the stomach for it, so they wanted me to become a pharmacist. And there's like a ton of pressure on her to do this, right? To do very well, basically do anything she has to do to make this happen. Okay, so Then the narration switches back to that family friend of hers who we talked to earlier. And she's like, the mother said that her daughter was going to school to be a pharmacist, but then after graduating, she like couldn't find a job. And, Miss Pam was very worried about her. She wanted her daughter to be successful and not be looked down upon by society. This is a big fear of her. Please hold. So Nefertiti, hello, how are you doing? And you bring up a good point. This is like Nefertiti's comment here about, she says, I'm not Asian, but I grew up around many Asian families and have a lot of Asian friends to this day. I can definitely sympathize with her plight being raised by tiger parents, but this just wasn't it. I've seen this so much. Like this, like what you're talking about, like when I've started, like the video I did before, like the long one I did, a year ago, whatever, and I was like doing the research on it. This was such a common theme of what you're talking about for a lot of people who did grow up in this culture, in this type household. Speaking to, it's tiger parent, it's a thing, and it's extreme, and it will push you to your breaking point. But obviously, it's no excuse to, you know what I'm saying, do what she did, especially how, what do you call it, like plotted, or you know what I mean, conniving she was about it. So this is very big to Miss Pan and Mr. Pan. They don't want her daughter to be looked down upon by society and this type thing. So then the narration switches back to the high school friend of hers, and he's like talking about their high school and kind of informing everybody about that. Pardon me. And he's like, look, at our high school, it was like, there is mega expectations on everybody. You're going to be a doctor. You're going to be a lawyer. You're going to be all this fancy stuff. Right. And he was like, the baseline is you're a straight A student, right? That's what you did, except for Jen. Okay. She was nowhere near being the top of her class. She was not performing like the other kids. At this school, everybody got straight A's. That was the standard. So she's lagging. Well, I mean, let me tell you what. Thanks, Liz, for joining. She didn't buckle down. Okay. Well, she buckled down all right. But she basically, I mean, she just like creates this fake life, right, with her parents. It shocked me. Well, we'll get into it. All the stuff that she made up for them, and how the level that you get, again, Chandler Halderson, when you're able to concoct a whole degree that you never even took in classes and this and that. I mean, imagine being in her household, not only bringing back grades home, but then coming home and talking about, oh yeah, y'all, by the way, I lied. Never went. Never graduated. Where's the money? This is the part. So this documentary, even though it goes into it a little bit, the book goes into this way deeper, y'all, and goes into the links that Jen went through. I mean, y'all, any detective looking into this and being like, you what? You know what I'm saying? Like, your mouth is on the floor to the depths of lying and conniving that she did. Okay. So the narration switches back to the police interview, and here we find out that Jen's been lying to her father about going to school for pharmacy. She never went. She lied. So she says that her mother didn't know this either. Both parents were being lied to. This would have been devastating. So it's just basically what it said. So the cop's exact words. So it switches back to the cop, like the interviewer dude, and he was like, "You got to be shitting me." I mean, literally, it's like how, I mean, when they learn this, pardon me, sorry, when they learn this, their mouths had to be on the floor. Okay, like, because you're talking motive left and right here, right? Okay, so hold on. She goes in to explain that they think that she's been going to Ryerson. They would drive her to Toronto. They would drop her off. They think she's going to class, but she wasn't. She's like hanging out at the pizza shop with her boyfriend, right? They thought she was going to class, but she wasn't. I just said that. So what was she doing? Jen said she felt guilty, but every time she tried to bring it up, there was just so much expectation. She continued this lie for 4 years and even produced a fake degree from the University of Toronto. Imagine pulling off. I mean, this girl, she had it all lined up how she got out of graduation and then coming. I mean, it's bad, y'all. is honestly, Chandler could have taken some lessons for her because she kept this up for a while. My God, y'all, so good, so good, y'all. These are just addictive. Okay, so the cops keep going back over her 911 call. This is where gets. If you know the case, you know like this part's like whoa. So she's telling the operator, I'm tied up. I'm tied up. I'm tied up upstairs, and she tells them that she had her phone in her pocket. Well, of course, they start to wonder. They're like, okay, hold on, let's think here. You're tied up to the banister, but you're on the phone with 911. Make it make sense, right? So let me just read this, and then I'll go on my little tangent. So the cop is like, basically like, how did you get your phone out? And she's like, but they didn't realize I had it in my pocket or whatever. Um, and so in the interview, she talked about how they bound her and like, oh, my hands were so tight. They were behind my back that I squealed. But they didn't pat me down when they did that. So they didn't know that I had this phone. And then the cop's like, okay, girl, well, go on and show me how you did it. Well, let me tell you what, you could see the damn blood drain from her face. This part was good, right? Oh, thank you, Nefertiti. Hold on, let me read your thing. Chandler wouldn't have been as angry with him as her parents would have damn near designed it. But yeah, 100% agree. So Nefertiti saying basically, like, if you're familiar with the Chandler Halderson case, that she thinks that Jen's parents would be more pissed and possibly disown her. 100. I mean, I agree. I think that her parents would have been like, what, you know what I'm saying? Like the shame that this would have brought them. I mean, can you imagine? Okay, so the cop's like, go on, girl, show us how you did it. Well, let me tell you what. I mean, like I said, you can see the color drains from this girl's face. But I'm going to say this, and this just speaks to how fast she is, okay? Because when she starts to play this off, I was like, you know what? She's playing it off to a degree. But so the cops like get up and she's acting like, oh, this is so triggering. I'm so upset to relive this. Now at this point, the cops are like, side eyeing, right? They're just like, yeah, I'm so sure. We're sorry you feel that way, but go on and show us. You know what I mean? So they have her do the motions and she's able to do it. And then so like she's like, well, I did like this, and I picked the phone up and I did like this. Yeah, and then I did like this, and well, I doubt it like this. And so then this part is where they got it. Like, well, if the phone's down there, how are you talking to them? How do you hear them? And she gets silent for a second. She's like, you know what I'm saying? Where I'm like, yeah, girl, go on, tell us. And then what does she say here? The next question the cops had is why? No, I left that part out. I mean, hold on. How are you able to hear? And she pauses. I turned the volume on max. Okay, so she tells them that, thanks, April. She tells them that she turned the volume all the way up so she could hear and talk and everything. Well, here's my thing. And again, I mean, this is just whatever. Here's the thing. You can tell a difference if somebody's talking like this, or you can't see it, but it's in my butt, basically. Or if somebody's talking like this. You see what I'm saying? You can hear that 911 phone call. I'm like, girl, you were probably sitting here like this, looking at her father with her little friends, talking about, oh my God, thank you, Lynette. So this part was like, but again, she was quick because this girl's a professional liar. Okay. So then the cops ask, their next question is, why would they leave a surviving witness? Why didn't they shoot you? And she's like, maybe because I cooperated. And the cops are like, this is when they start to get like, have you lied about, I don't know, anything today? And she's kind of like, what? Like, it takes her off guard, right? Because she's been playing up this whole victim thing the whole time. So, you know, this throws her off. And so then they started getting a little bit of they put the pressure on a little bit. Like, let's talk about the resentment that maybe you had towards your parents. I'm kind of referring into my notes here. For locking you in the house, keeping you away from your boyfriend, all this type of stuff. And she's basically like, I love my parents. I, pardon me. I chose them over him. I mean, the proof is in the pudding, right? And it's also like, well, true, girl, but I mean, you also didn't go to school for 4 years either and hung out with your drug dealer boyfriend. Okay, so there's that. That's what I'm thinking. I'm like, this is where she's good, but she ain't that good. You know what I mean? Please hold. Oh, Dwayne, you're so sweet. Dwayne gifted 5 memberships. Okay, so the cops aren't buying it. They feel like she knows something, but they have really no other direction to go in. Like, they're waiting for that moment, right? So let's rewind. Remember, what would be the one thing that would help this case out? What would be the one wonderful thing to blow the lid off this? That would be another eyewitness besides Jennifer. And who is that? Well, remember, her father has been in a coma and he is starting to come out of it. They're going to pull him out to see how he's doing. Jen was like, damn. The thing that's so weird to me, and one thing, so let's take a side trip here, but it's about Jen, but just a different thing. Here's the thing. A lot of these cases like this, you're just not used to seeing a young lady like this. I say young lady, I shouldn't even say that. Basically, a female doing this to the parent, right? It's usually like a Chandler, something like that. Roscoe, what are you doing, buddy? You know what I'm saying? So for the fact that, but then also she's so meek, she's so shy, she's so quiet, she's so fragile that it's just, and there's just nothing on her face, right? So that's the part that throws me when I'm watching the interviews where I'm like, how did this little thing here concoct this crazy damn chain of events? That brutal, and then sit up here and pretend to cry about it. Okay, so the father, he's coming out of oh, Roscoe, honey. He's starting to come out of it. And so then they go to talk to him. And this is his story of what happened. So it's very similar to kind of what Jen said. They go to bed. He goes to bed early. His wife, Jen's mother, has been out line dancing. Then basically he's woken up by a dude with a gun being like, get up, come downstairs, like up. And he's like, what the fuck? Like, oh my God. He sees his wife in the living room. She's hysterical. She's yelling, we don't have any money. We don't have any money. Please let us go. One of the men in the house just tells her to shut up. He says he's on the couch being pistol whipped. What happened to Miss Pan is Miss Pan is on a separate couch begging for her life. And he's just like, I can't believe, like, what? I mean, imagine you get woken up. You know what I mean? And this is what, pardon me, this is what you're coming downstairs to. So Jennifer walks down the stairs with one of the suspects. Okay, I'm sorry, I'm jumping the gun here. So then he's like, talking about Jen, he's like, well, she comes down the stairs with like one of the dudes, and it's like talking to him, like not in a I'm in danger way, but like it's my friend kind of a way, like she's comfortable around him. She has bindings on her arms and they're having this conversation. Well, that's all the damn cops needed to hear right there. Okay. And they were like, immediately put security on this man's hospital room. Now, one thing this doesn't go into a lot is during this time, so Jen's staying with other family members. And because remember, her home is like a crime scene. Remember, she has a brother, all this type of stuff. So imagine you're staying with like I don't know the exact relationships right now, but you're staying with your aunt. And then all of a sudden you're starting to be accused of killing your dad. So you can imagine where it's like getting very awkward. Okay. So there's that. She is not allowed to come see her father when they find this out. Please hold. Now, my heart utterly breaks for this man for multiple reasons. Obviously, his loss, what happened to him, the loss of his daughter, because I'm sure she's dead to him, right? You do this happens, you see your wife murdered, and then your daughter comes down. And then also remember, he's screaming and crying for Jennifer, probably like, make this stop. You know what I'm saying? Then you yourself are shot. You come out of this, and then you're sitting here like, pardon me, Now I have to recount this, and that thud in your stomach of my own daughter had something to do with this. Oh, thank you, Chrissy. Yeah, I know, right? I'm glad to be able to enjoy the laughs. So I my heart breaks for him on so many levels. The betrayal. So anyway, so Jen's not allowed to come back into the room or whatever. So the cops will go back in for a second time to talk to him later, right? To be like, did we miss anything? Whatever, whatever. And they say that he says, please use your police techniques to find out what Jennifer did. I mean, God, it makes me want to cry right now. So obviously that's where they got the title from it for. And I had said my heart sinks at this part. I mean, it's so sad. So they bring her in for yet another interview. Now, at this point, they're trying to be like, girl, no, we just need a confession, right? But they're going to get tricky with her. Because remember, she's stupid on many levels, but she's a damn good liar, right? Very manipulative. Okay. They put her in there with a guy named Bill who's trained in detecting lies and calling them out. She's basically met her match. He asks her about lying about school. She tells him how she did it by using Photoshop to make report cards and documents and things like that. And again, I'll reiterate this. If this is a case that you're interested in, you like to read, whatever. Number one, there's like I said, every true crime person. I mean, I did like an hour-long thing on it. People have done huge videos on this. The book as well, which a lot of them is where this comes from. It goes into the painful details of how meticulous she was about lying. Like, when people do this kind of stuff and it's like, girl, it was easier just to study and get good grades, literally. I mean, at this point, it's one of those where you're like, you did that with the stuff that you had back then. I mean, come on, right? So she's going over all that. So then they switch the conversation to Daniel. Remember, this is Daniel Wong. So she's like, talking about how the parents wouldn't let her be with them, and she's upset by it. She wasn't happy with her life. Her friends are all moving on with their lives, right? And she's not going anywhere. She hadn't accomplished anything that they did. She had only lied about it. So then the interviewer just goes straight up, and he's like, well, look, the reason why I'm here is I'm a detective of truth verification. I'm not a homicide detective. Now, then there's like a quick excerpt from it, and it's like, look, in Canada, officers are allowed to lie. There's like some caveats to it. If you know about that word. But they're allowed to lie with a caveat. Now, y'all, this story that they told her, I'm not gonna lie, I was like, for somebody who is meticulous and manipulative as she is, this one I'm like, you bought that? You know what I'm saying? Like, you believe that? Okay. But I mean, I guess, what would you, I mean, she's young, whatever. So the detectives tell her that basically these like satellites that act like x-rays, and they can see what's going on in the houses and stuff like that. And so he goes for it. He's like, Jennifer, you know who was in the house that night. She's like, no, I didn't. And he says, Jennifer, yes, you do. He says, your dad wasn't supposed to be a witness, was he, Jennifer? He wasn't supposed to live, but he did. And he also says you gave a description of the. Okay, he says you gave a description of a black guy with dreads, but there was no guy like that. And she's like, but that's what I remember. And he's like, you're involved in this, Jennifer. And he's like, you didn't think this far ahead, did you? Did you, Jen? And he just keeps asking her what would happen, whatever. And she hangs her head in damn shame. Now he wears her down and he asks her, were you part of the planning? And she's just sitting there with her head hung and all this type of stuff. And finally she'll be like this. She'll be like, they were supposed to take me, or something like that. Like they were supposed to kill me or something like that. It's like this low key admission, right? And so please hold. Excuse me. Shame. So basically what happens here, and okay, let me just do this so I can know where to, because I'm just going to go on a tangent here and talk about this. It's easier than reading my notes. He wears her down. He asks her, okay, you can help me. Okay, there. Okay, so basically, this is what she tries to say. She's sitting here talking about, she's talking about, I was trying to unalive myself. And so I had concocted this plan to have these dudes come by and do this. And you already know these cops are like, uh-huh. But again, it's like, okay, we're getting some form of an admission. Jennifer will basically make it out like she was going to take her life and do it by this way. And she was paying somebody off to do this and so on and so forth. But if something went down south and they were not supposed to kill the parents. And so I'm like, whenever they do this, and they, meaning these perpetrators, notice how it's like, the irony. You were supposed to take your own life, but golly jeepers, something went wrong and your whole family's dead instead and you're alive. Like, oh, the irony. Remember Anthony Todd? I mean, my God, that whole story he concocted about the damn pies and his wife basically trying to take her life for days on end. And it's like, but yet you're still here and devastated over that. You know what I'm saying? Like, can't roll my damn eyes hard enough. I know it's empty, but for God's sakes, just my God on that one. I mean, seriously, now, y'all. So this is what she's going to try and sell to the cops. But again, we're going to give her a couple of points because, you know, she came up with it on the spot, right? So it's like, okay, you know, a B for creativity. So when they're like, okay, well then why? They run with it, right? Because that's what you're supposed to do. Like, well, why, Jim? She's like, I don't want to live anymore. I don't know what went wrong with the plan. They weren't supposed to take the whole family out, but they did. And it was like $2,000. They were going to come in, take her out. She names the guy. His name's Homeboy. That's what he goes by. She describes the plan. You know, they text her with a message, make sure that they could get in the house. She said she went downstairs. She pretended to say hello to her parents. She checks the door, but really what she does is she unlocks it to let them in. So the cops are basically like, okay, number one, we want a warrant for her phone immediately. And then they find all these text messages and they tell a very different story. Okay. Again, this is where she knew how to lie and manipulate in the confines of her situation. You know what I'm saying? This was too big for even Jen. This was, and for most people, I mean, like, this is when this gets this out of control. You know what I'm saying? It's like, girl, they're just gonna look in your phone, right? I mean, and she's probably like, there you go, buddy, on the spot, that type thing. You know what I'm saying? Um, so they find a message between her and Daniel, the boyfriend, the ex-boyfriend, the one that she's wanted to be with. And he's saying basically like, look, this is hard. I don't know how to say this, but like, I don't feel about you the way that like you feel about me, right? I've got this girl over here, like, you know. So she's like, oh, well then call the plan off with Homeboy. So they're like, oh, okay, we need to go talk to Daniel again, right? This is all connecting the dots. I love the sweet satisfaction when you're seeing the cases unfold and the cops are trying to figure out like, how does this, like, this story here and that story here and this story here, and then something clicks and it starts connecting all the dots because it's like, you know, how is Daniel involved? How is Jen involved? And it just all starts making sense. You know what I'm saying? So it becomes apparent. So hold on. So I don't feel the way is Daniel, and when that was no longer. So basically, it was like she was going to get these people to take the parents out, and probably in her world, run off with her boyfriend or something like that. So they start doing surveillance on Daniel Wong. They start looking at multiple phones, connecting the dots. Eric Hardy, David. So it's like Eric, David, Homeboy, Linford Crawford are the three suspects. Danny and Linford, aka Homeboy, both sell drugs. The interview goes on for 3.5 hours. They keep pressuring her to admit, set it up. Okay, so they go in this interview. It goes on and on and on. They're trying to get her to admit, obviously, you know, to confess, this type thing, but she won't do it. Okay, so then the narration switches back to another detective, and he basically lines out what happened, his version. He says, Homeboy sends a message to Jen. This is game time. She waits for her mom to come back from line dance, and she goes downstairs to say goodnight to her mother. She makes sure that the door is unlocked. So she just pretends, thanks, Ashley, to be like, okay, good night, mom, love you. And she goes and unlocks the door. Bless their hearts, had no idea the trap she had laid for them. So Jennifer waits for her mom to come back from. Oh wait, I said that. On the door, she goes back upstairs and she's texting with the dudes, right? So this whole thing of like, I went up to go, talk to friends and I was in for the evening. Well, this is what she's really doing. So at some point she flicks her lights and they'll show surveillance from the neighbor's house of her lights flickering. And soon there is when the chain of events start happening. So they come into the house. Okay, wait, hold on. They make sure the door, she keeps texting the suspect. They go and say no. They come into the house. She goes back to her bedroom and kind of, okay, that's right. So that's what she lets them in. She flicks the lights. She goes back up to her bedroom and is basically sitting there like, okay, here we go. And then this chain of events takes place that we've heard about. Okay, so let's see here. The narration switches back to the interview with one guy, and Jennifer says he comes back or Jennifer. So it goes back to the interrogation between Jennifer and this one guy. Okay. And they're in the interrogation room. And he's like, look, we're arresting you on murder, capital murder, conspiracy, and other charge. He's like, do you understand this? Yes, I get it. They talk. So then they talk to the other detectives who interviewed her. Now this is like looking back, right? And they're going back to get their reaction of what was, this is what happened, whatever. And they're like, look, we were baffled. Like, we were just like, what? Because they're just like, all the stuff we've talked about. I mean, here's this little lady, young lady girl. And it's like, this came out of you. You know what I'm saying? It's insane. Pardon me. So there's plenty of fish that say amen. Amen, Nefertiti. So anyway, we talk to the other detectives who interviewed her. They're all in shock. Then they go back to the other detective and he says that they found her diary. And since they find her diary, I would give good damn money. I mean, my God, can you imagine? I'd rip through that damn diary. It'd probably be, that sounds so toxic of me. I shouldn't talk about it that way, but it's messed up, right? And I like the psychological component to scratch beneath the true surface of Jennifer Pan and look into her innermost thoughts like that, it's twisted, right? And give you more insight into how she arrived here. Well, so they do. So basically, she's like complaining about their restrictions, her parents' restrictions, not wanting her to date this drug dealer guy. And basically, everything else in there is about Daniel. Like, she's like obsessed with this dude. I'm telling you, she would have killed him, right? She would have killed this dude, or at minimum, his girlfriend, right? If that was just inevitable, right? If she was out, right? Okay. So then they talk about the text messages that I told you about earlier. Now, we already established they believe that, yes, she was sending these. She was doing these just to get attention from Daniel and keep him in her life. They said they believe, the detectives say they believe the reason that Daniel got involved with this was probably to gain access to the money that she was going to get, because she was going to get money, right? And to further his drug activities, that type of stuff. So everyone was grifting each other in this, and I think Jim was doing it for her reason. He was doing it for these reasons. And again, it collided. Her parents weren't grifting her. They were just controlling her. And again, it's no reason to do what she did to them. The detectives would learn that she had actually, so then the detectives learned that she had actually approached another friend like 10 months before, trying to get them to kill her father. So like, she had already been trying this, right? This wasn't like a fluke. Okay. This was like Jennifer, the girl that tries to get people to kill her parents. Okay. This is like a personality trait, apparently. So she's ultimately convicted of first-degree murder. We're going to get into some of the updates here in a second. First-degree murder, attempted murder of her mother and father. Jennifer Daniel, co-accused, are sentenced to essentially life with no chance of parole for 25 years. Co-conspirators also found guilty in the same charges. Eric Carty was later convicted of conspiracy to commit murder, but he died in prison in 2018. Her father, Mr. Pan, where is it? Mr. Pan was granted a lifetime non-contact order against his daughter following a successful appeal against their conviction for first-degree murder of Bick. There's new trials. This is what they talked about earlier here. they've been they're in the appeal process right now. Okay, we're gonna look at something here in a second about that. So 2023 Ontario Appeal Court ordered a retrial for first degree murder charge on the grounds that the judge in the original case did not present jurors with other options, including second degree murder and manslaughter. So it's basically with the Supreme Court in Canada right now to see what would happen. Like I said, she has a younger brother. His name's Felix. He did testify against her. He was not home that night. He has moved around some, but he's basically, he's not out there doing like interviews. He wasn't in this. He doesn't want to be. She is currently obviously incarcerated, but we don't know where. They keep that kind of a secret or whatever. And not a secret, but it's just it's a little bit different. They're not going to say like where she's at or what facility or anything. Now, that's that. Like I said, the book, and please hold. Now hold on, Roscoe, hold on. Please hold. The boy is upset. I can't tell if he can't see or if he'll just go. He's standing in the other room, like starting to howl. So I don't know if he forgets what he's doing or if he can't see or what. But that's so I'm holding him. It's also mega bedtime. Okay, mega bedtime. Okay, so where we're at. We had talked about that. Oh, so the book again goes way deeper into all this, y'all. If you're into, doing, the book kind of a thing or whatever. So now what I want to do is this. There's scandal around. Hold on, let's get rid of this. And this. And this. There's scandal around it, and we're going to talk about it. Oh, where is it? Present. Share screen. I said, hey. Let me see if y'all see this. You should do. Netflix most popular documentary is embroiled in controversy. SF Gate editor at large Andrew Chamings on why Netflix has crossed the line. This is by Andrew Chamings. This is San Francisco Gate, April 22nd. So, yeah, that's definitely not Jen. The most recent Netflix documentary, What Jennifer Did, is mediocre in almost every way, but nefariously unethical in another. And I will say this, as far as this goes, I mean, I'm not lying. Any of your favorite true crime people on YouTube do a deeper dive than this damn video. I mean, I'm going to be just straight up with you. But again, if you don't know the case and it interests you, it's a good intro to it. But they miss so many opportunities to go so much deeper into this. Please hold. And what I mean by deeper is to expand on stuff. I couldn't believe how much they jumped over to the depths that Jennifer lied about school. And it wouldn't have taken that much. I mean, they just kind of skimmed over it a little bit. And I'm like, y'all, that's like a level of insanity that is like reserved for Chandler Halderson. Anyways, so Jennifer Pan, 24-year-old Vietnamese Canadian woman living with their family near Toronto, arranged to have her parents killed. An orchestrated home invasion. Okay, there's that. Let's get to where's the drama? Okay, the narrative of the documentary, like the case itself, plays out with Jennifer initially being seen as a victim, but when she is interrogated by a police officer, the truth starts to unravel and she admits her part in the killing. It's a compelling tale told by veteran reality TV and true crime director Jenny Popplewell. Talking heads, and one of the photos, she is seen happily smiling in a red dress, waving peace fingers at the camera. Jennifer is bubbly, happy, confident, and very genuine, a high school friend says. The image itself, though, it seems far from genuine. A not so close, I mean, it definitely is fake. A not so close look reveals mangled fingers, no thumb, and an orthodontically unlikely set of teeth. Y'all, I swear AI is going to be dead. I mean, it's going to take us out, y'all. And the peace sign, Jennifer's two extended fingers appear unusually long with her other digits melting onto each other, a common struggle an AI attempts to depict a human. The closer photo of Jennifer smiling reveals an odd patchwork of teeth, with one incisor blurred at the end and the other extending from her top gum to below her bottom lip. Let's go back up to it real quick. Oh, wait, yeah, look at the thumb. The thumb's weird. Y'all, I cannot. Okay, let's go where are we at? Okay, we did that. The issue was first noticed and reported by Futurism last week and led to widespread accusations of reckless and unforgivable decision making by the filmmakers and Netflix. The controversial uses of AI imagery in TV is nothing new, but its apparent use here may be the most egregious yet. The photos of Jennifer are a form of evidence, a crucial glimpse into Jennifer's life that led to her hire the three hitmen, or the three killer parents. And one key piece of her defense, Jennifer told detectives that she was able to dexterously pull her phone out of her pocket to call 911 when her hands were tightly bound behind her back. In a memorable scene in the film, an interrogating officer forces her to reenact this at the police station. Through tears and nerves, she manages to show how agile she is with her hands. Jennifer's version of events was undone when their father awoke from his coma and told detectives she was walking around the home chatting with the killers. It may be a stretch to suggest that the viewers could be further convinced Jennifer could have pulled off this nimble finger trick after seeing her seemingly unnatural elongated fingers in an earlier shot. But at best, it uses an apparently unreal image to deceptively show Jennifer is happy during this period of her life. She has two different sets of teeth. Netflix's True Crime Factory is unrelenting. The streaming network seems to churn out new original films and series in the genre on a weekly basis, decreasing quality control. I could have told you that all day long. Okay, so yeah, basically they're upset over that. So I mean, I get it. Oh, thank you, Emily. Emily gifted a membership. Um, okay, where'd y'all go? Hold on. Okay, here we are. So honestly, my first thought on that is I'm like, it's not that deep. Like, I mean, I don't agree with the AI thing, but like, I didn't piece all that together. You know what I'm saying? But again, I wasn't looking at that hardcore. You know what I mean? Because I already knew the case, kind of a thing. So that part, I'm just like, okay. But I mean, that's the thing with AI generated stuff. It is what it is. And yes, Netflix. This is the thing. Like, this is a prime example right here of being like, look, this is. I shouldn't be able to say that a true crime YouTuber does a more thorough job than a Netflix documentary. You know what I'm saying? Like that should be the opposite. But literally they missed a lot of opportunities with this to go, just not super deep, but I mean deeper than what they did. So this just felt like a very major surface level part of the thing. And that's why, again, I'll suggest, if you haven't seen it all and you just want the overview, like, the 60-second overview, get us all on the same page, definitely watch it. You want to go deeper, look up. Numerous people have done deep dives into it. I did one. Literally, so many people have done it. I bet Stephanie Harlow and Derek have or just Stephanie, who, however, massive. Stephanie, she's going to do a damn 2-3 hour thing. I'm sure she went on a deep ass dive on this because you can. There's so much that it goes down. That again, it's a tragedy what ended up happening to our parents. So anyways, so yeah, it was interesting. It was a good watch. If you've seen it before but haven't watched this, you probably don't need to go. Or if you're familiar with the case but haven't watched it, you hearing me talk about it's probably all you need to do. You know what I'm saying? Go on to the next is what I'm trying to get at. It's just it is what it is. So please hold. Thank you, Dwayne. So yeah, that's it. I hope everybody's been doing well. So like I said, what I'm going to do is tomorrow I'm working on a video. I started looking at that case about that Oklahoma father who killed his family. That's horrible. There's a couple of things, and then Madeline Soto update. I think tomorrow morning's video is going to be part 2 to Jody Hildebrandt's book. In fact, I don't think it is. I know it is. I don't know what I'm saying. So that's going to be what's coming out tomorrow. And I think it's like an hour long, and then I'll keep recording. I'm basically halfway through that. Uh, Pardon me. So be on the lookout for it. And if you haven't checked out today's video, it's me reading Jody Hildebrandt's book. And I mean, y'all, I cannot. It's just in part two, tomorrow's video, it gets worse. Okay. The book gets worse as you read it. It's insane. Okay. The hypocrisy of her, it just absolutely disgusts me. And I got another book too, but we'll get to that. Also, I'm reading Gypsy Rose's book. I know Tori says, take a shot with every mention of distortion. We'd be dead, Tori. We'd be dead. Because I think in tomorrow's video, or I don't remember this video, I literally sat here and said, where I went back to the paragraph and I counted off how many times she used the word true in a paragraph. Y'all, I was like, 1, 2, 3. I was like, y'all, this is insane. Okay. And the list making that she does, it's like she has a damn episode every 5 pages. I'm like, my God, exhausting. Okay. But it's just the outlandishness that we saw in the first bit that gets more turned up. I mean, there's some stuff that I stopped and was like, I cannot believe that this woman is writing this paragraph after what we know now. Okay. Absolutely will piss you off. I've been reading Gypsy Rose's book too. Now, here's the thing with that one. I'm not going to read it verbatim because obviously, number one, she could like copy or strike that or whatever. I'm making notes in it though. And so I'll make like more of like a let me talk about it because it's very interesting on some things. Y'all, some of the stuff that her mom was doing to her is I mean, obviously we know about the public stuff. And I mean, I don't know if some of this is not public. You know, I mean, obviously it is, it's in her book now. Stuff that I didn't know about that I'm like, your mother did what? That is creepy as hell. Okay. Like super creepy. So it's been interesting too. It's a very fast read. It's basically a transcript of her phone calls with somebody. So you know, that's interesting. So I'll do a video on that, but it'll come later or whatever. So yeah. We'll see what happens with Jennifer Pam. You can't tell. Here's the thing with the appeal thing. I get what they're saying, but I'm like, how would you ever get manslaughter or second degree out of this? When you look at this, the planning that she did for this, please. But again, I don't know exactly how their stuff works. You know what I mean? Up in Canada, like their legal system. So I don't know. So anyways, but I am going to run because I have to get ready for bed. So I will post tomorrow, like some point or whatever, if we're going to go live, because I want to go live and talk about the Chad Daybell thing. Like and get caught up on that and whatnot. So I want to do that, but we'll see, you know, if it's going to be tomorrow, Friday or whatever. So anyways, that's it. I do thank all of you. Thank you, Emily. Thank you, Derek, for being here. Thank you, everybody, for hanging out, for chatting, for super chats. And again, Esmeralda, thank you for that. Such a generous donation. I appreciate that. Thank you, everybody. Thank you for gifting memberships, and hanging out and the conversation. It's always so nice and enjoyable and relaxing. And I very much am appreciative of all of you for hanging out here and chilling and talking about these cases and being respectful. And it's just cool. I love it. And I hope everybody has a wonderful Thursday. Today, I'm not gonna lie, y'all. Today it was chill day over here, y'all. So yeah, we'll talk about Chad. We'll talk about Chad. And one thing, I just kind of reading comments real quick. What I want to do is today I was going through the text message testimony. I'm kind of catching back up. I want to look at David Warwick because remember a lot of this stuff we've seen through Lori's and other things or whatever, but it's interesting to see some of the different nuances. I can only take so much of Pryor, and I'm not trying to say I get it's his job, he's doing what he's got to do, but just some of the way he will come at people and talk about victims and stuff, it just is like, oh my God, like you just want to come up over the witness stand for them. You know what I'm saying? Yeah, Dominique says he's getting angry and angry every day. Pryor's over it. Okay, he's like, I am so ready to be done with this man. He just, it's the tone of voice is like triggering, right? Pardon me. So yeah, he's so aggressive. It's a public holiday. I've always wanted to go to New Zealand. I bet it's just so like calm and peaceful there. Like chill. Yeah, nobody can stand prior. So anyways, but thank y'all. I love y'all, Sofa Squad. Y'all have a wonderful evening, and I will post tomorrow if we're going to be going live tomorrow night when we will. And that is it. I love you. Have a good evening. Roscoe.